Okay, so OpenAI just released a preview of GPT 5.6 Soul, but unfortunately, you can't access it. In terms of agentic coding capabilities, it seems to be better than Claude Mythos 5, which is pretty incredible, and it is by a large margin. This is also the most capable model for cybersecurity from OpenAI, just behind Mythos preview. But this also tends to cheat a lot more compared to the other models. More on that later in the video. Okay, so OpenAI is previewing not one but three different variations of GPT 5.6 called Soul, Terra, and Luna. Now, here's the official blog post previewing the GPT 5.6 Soul, a next generation model. Now, this model is not available to public because the US government is not allowing them. So they say that as a part of our ongoing engagement with the US government, we previewed our plans and the model's capabilities ahead of today's launch. And at their request, we are starting with a limited preview for a small group of trusted partners whose participations have been shared with the government before releasing more broadly. Now, unfortunately, this is going to become a trend. I think the models that we had up till Opus 4.8 or GPT 5.5 are the most capable models that we're going to have in a while. After that, the companies are going to be very careful because the government is involved now. Now, we all saw what happened with Fable and Mythos 5, and I think every company is now very cautious. They will need to make sure that they comply with the relevant law. So unfortunately, I don't have access. I can't really show you how this model performs, what it's capable of, but we can look at some of the interesting details. So there are three different variations. As I mentioned, Soul is the most powerful. Then Terra is the balanced model for efficient and everyday work. And then there's going to be GPT 5.6 Luna, which is going to be a fast and affordable a model for high volume work. And I suspect this is most of us are going to get access to. Now, the good thing is that everybody was expecting that GPT 5.6 is going to be a lot more expensive compared to 5.5, as 5.5 was compared to 5.4. But it seems like they are reducing prices, which is a good indication, especially when it comes to Luna and Terra. They are pretty affordable compared to the previous iterations. And in some cases, especially if you look at Luna, this is actually a lot more competitive compared to some of the open offerings as well. Now, let's look at some of the benchmarks. OpenAI has intentionally really limited the number of benchmarks that they are sharing. They just want to show the core capabilities. Now, the first one that everybody is going to be interested in is the agentic coding capabilities. So GPT 5.6 Soul comes with two new reasoning levels, Max and Ultra. If you look at Ultra, this surpasses everything that we have seen on Terminal Bench 2.1. Mythos 5 is 88%, but this is almost 92%. We'll have to see what it translates to in actual coding performance, though, when we get access. But then there are other benchmarks where it kind of lags behind both the Mythos preview and Mythos 5. So one example of this is the exploit bench. This is basically biology related benchmark. Now, you're going to see some interesting trends here. First, pay very close attention to the token efficiency. For Soul, it's a lot more efficient compared to GPT 5.5. However, for the other versions, Terra and Luna, it seems to be less token efficient. Now, for GPT 5.6 Luna, you should expect a performance which are very close to 5.4 rather than 5.5. Now, here's another benchmark, which again is related to biology, and you really see this trend. So Luna 5.4 is basically GPT mini capabilities, right? You can't really use it for anything serious, but for workhorse model, yeah, I think it's going to be a lot more performant. Also, the Terra version is really behind GPT 5.5. So if you want anything comparable, that is going to be GPT 5.6 Soul, which gives you much better performance compared to 5.5. So yes, for the other two variations, they have reduced the prices, but also its capabilities, and it's not going to be as token efficient as the 5.6 Sol version. Okay, so buried in the system card, there was some interesting things about its long horizon capabilities. So this is something that Lisan found on X. He says, Al-Ghab, OpenAI let Meter benchmark GPT 5.6, but the results were rejected because GPT 5.6 was cheating too often for the results to be comparable interpretable. So Meter has this very interesting benchmark which measures different models on long horizon tasks, and they compare it like how long a task is going to take for a human to perform, and then they are doing an analysis of what the agents today are capable. So keep in mind, the y-axis is not for how long the agent is actually running. This is the task, how long a human is going to take, which is really important distinction. So right now with Opus or Mythos preview, this is I think the last one that they tested, it can do tasks that are up to 16 hours long, or a task that is going to take human 16 hours, right? But for GPT 5.6, they couldn't do it because the model was cheating way too often. So this is from the technical report shared by Lisan. So it says, Meter reported the GPT 5.6 Sol exhibited an unusually high detection rate of cheating and thus didn't consider the time horizon results to be a robust measurement of the model's capabilities. We believe these behaviors may reflect improved instruction following and training intended to increase persistence, which can, in some cases, lead to model to continue pursuing task completion in ways that fall outside the intended evaluation constraints. Now, the second part is very important. They say that this broadly aligns with our internal experiments evaluating misalignments, which observed increases in the certain misaligned behavior for GPT 5.6 Sol relative to 5.5, mostly driven by the model's great persistence. So the thing is that it's trying to follow the instructions very closely. And in following the instructions, the model wants to do anything that it can in order to achieve that goal, which is a double-edged sword. Now, it seems to be definitely a significant step when it comes to capabilities, but it also exhibits concerning form of misaligned behavior in agentic coding settings. Okay, so the thing is that it not only shows some really interesting capabilities, but this seems to be the most misaligned model from OpenAI, especially when it comes to agentic coding settings. So this is some resampled data, and it shows 3 different levels of misalignment behaviors. In fact, these are 3 different severities. So it seems like compared to GPT 5.5, this is a lot more misaligned. Okay, so this is probably going to be a very fast model. So OpenAI is saying that we are launching GPT 5.6 Sol on Cerebras at up to 750 tokens per second in July, bringing Frontier intelligence to customers at an unprecedented speed, which is kind of pretty incredible for a model of its size and capabilities. But this could actually come with a cheaper or steeper cost. And you can actually see that cost. So if you go to these benchmarks, not only you can arrange this by latency, where a 5.6 is really great. It's much faster compared to Terra, Luna, and 5.5. But if you arrange it by cost, this is going to also cost a lot more. Now, for the Luna or for the Sol, you're going to be getting a lot more performance. I think Terra is basically 5.5 level performance with a very similar cost structure. And we see similar trends for other benchmarks that OpenAI has shared, right? So if you're using Terra, this is basically 5.5 level intelligence. Sol is going to be the only main differentiating model here. We're going to see more and more emphasis on cybersecurity. And if you read through the blog post, they actually talk about this layered soft safeguard stack, right? So these include protection trends into the model, real-time checks during generation, and account level signals, differentiated access, monitoring enforcements, and continued testing. And this is the trend that we're going to see from all the labs. However, with the recent developments, I also really worry about these models' capabilities. We probably are not going to get access to more capable models anytime soon. My main worry is that this is probably going to be extended to even open weight models. There are a lot of conversations on banning open weight models coming out of China, but it seems like after this government review process specifically for most capable models, this is going to slow down a little bit. But the main concern is, what about open models, especially with something like GLM 5.2, which is pretty capable and close to frontier and is completely open weight. Anybody with enough hardware and compute can run it. Now, the most interesting thing is that for models like GLM 5.2, we probably are going to see a Mythos level model in a few months' time. It may not be as capable as Mythos when it comes to general capabilities, but for specific tasks like coding, I think we're going to see pretty close models to Mythos or even GPT 5.6 Soul. The question is, what happens at that point? Does the US government impose restrictions on open weight models coming out of China, or there's going to be some other mechanism? Because the cat is already out of the box. Now, if you look at the online discourse, a lot of people would blame Anthropic for this. In my personal opinion, this was bound to happen. Anthropic maybe accelerated it a little bit, but the regulations were supposed to come at some point. So it's not just Anthropic. Anthropic was just probably the first one who saw the writing on the wall. So do let me know what you think. I'm going to test this GPT 5.6 Soul when it is available, hopefully in a few weeks, but you never know. Anyways, I hope you found this video useful. Thanks for watching, and as always, see you in the next one.